Oh yeah. Is that everything good in the bone man area?
There he is.
Oh,
what's up, man?
Now just waiting for the
Joe Mama.
Hello there.
Brian Blyther.
If
What's
you
up,
guys
Craig?
can hear me, raise your hand.
I'm trying to learn how to do this thing real
I
quick.
heard.
Let me turn up my volume somehow.
Yeah, no worries, Brian. Take your time. We hear you, Craig.
I heard Brian too.
We hear Craig.
Check.
Craig.
No, I can't hear him in my headphones.
Craig's lady's gonna help him out real
I
quick.
can hear myself.
Dude, he has no idea.
I gotta get me a seat real quick. Hold on.
Look how confused Craig is.
Yeah, why he looks like he's like a deer in headlights.
He has no idea what's going on. He's like, babe, babe.
Yeah, can he see us?
Yeah, I'm
He just can't hear
assuming.
us.
Yeah, look at him. He's like,
He's like, who's Joe Mama and who's Brian?
Craig.
Who's this Brian guy?
Craig.
Brian Lopes. Brian Square.
Yo, I am in the
Craig.
house.
Craig.
Hey, I'm in the
Hey,
house,
man.
dude.
Hey,
What's
how's
up,
it going,
dudes?
Craig?
What's going on?
Hey, so I know I told you we were going to interview Dave Nourie again.
Yeah.
But then Dave grabbed a couple buddies,
Oh shit.
and we just decided not to tell you. And so, surprise.
Oh my gosh, look at this motley crew, bro.
Ah,
Blyther,
Brian-
what's up?
What's
Brian,
going
you're being
on,
Oh my
buddy?
gosh.
Everyone's being
And there-
recorded, by the way. There we
Look, he's
go.
up in the corner. It's Ron
Look at that.
Wilkerson. What's up, brother?
oh, yo.
What's going on, man?
What
No,
up?
I'm stoked, dude. What's going on here, man?
Welcome.
This
Oh.
is we've been planning this, dude, literally since you dipped out of the last interview when you're like, okay, bros, I gotta go. Dave and I started talking, and we started planning at that moment that we were going to do this. And what everybody else doesn't know is I haven't talked to Craig in like 3 weeks because I cannot keep a secret, and there's no way that I could keep this a secret. So I haven't talked to Craig in like 3 weeks. So
Dude,
surprise, Craig. There you go.
that is a surprise, man. What's up? What's up, guys?
Man, how's it going?
Good.
Living
Good,
life,
man.
loving it.
Brian, you
so-
changed out of your uniform, your cop gear.
Brian, I thought you said
Brian
me. I was
did,
like,
yeah.
what?
Are you a cop too, Craig?
No, but
okay.
man, if I had some cop gear, man, maybe I could,
Yeah.
you know.
I'll
Dude,
take
right
you on
now-
a ride, make you put a gun on you, and make you help us out. It'd be fun.
Hey, dude, whenever you need someone on shotgun, Brian, just give me a call, brother.
No kidding, dude.
This is dope. Yeah, man. Awesome, man.
Dude.
Stoked to see you guys here. Brian, the last time I saw you was at Avella's coffee shop. Oh, wait, no. Sorry.
Mike
it was
Buff's,
at
dude.
it was at Mike Buff's house. Yeah.
Oh, Mike Buff's house. That's right. Yes.
Yeah, when we did the 4130 Subway
Yeah,
Series ride.
Not too long ago.
That wasn't too long ago. Yeah, that was fun. And then Ron, the last time I saw you was at Rich Avella's coffee house in
Oh yeah.
like El Cerrito, Albany for the book signing.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. And Dave,
That was
I saw
cool.
you not too long ago too, man.
Right. But this is the first time that the three of us have been on Zoom. So you guys have the first one to share some of the old Haro show, tour shows, Two Hip show, tour
Fun.
trivia. We got all this. I'm Craig. You came with all your questions, I hope.
I did have some thoughts and ideas, but that just got blown out the fucking door, dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. No, let's go. I'm ready to rock.
All right. So I'm gonna start as far back as what I remember. I'm gonna ask a question, and we'll just see where this goes. You guys, if you're looking for interview stuff, we are really poor interview people. We are good. We like to have conversations. So interview tests are like a job, right? It's kind of boring. You're just like, what's your favorite bike, Brian? Whatever. What I want to know
Harley.
is like, yeah. I want to know stuff like, dude, what got you stoked as a kid? What, was it like? Did you get recognized everywhere you went? Stuff like that, dude. I'm just curious about all the stuff we'd always want to talk about and what we'd want to ask you guys, but was untouchable,
Average amount of girls you meet per tour.
dude. If we want to go there, we shall. So, first question, favorite tour memory from each one of you, and if it's like a stop, something like that, share as much as you like. But let's say, Dave Nourie,
Dave goes first.
do you have a favorite show that you remember where you're like, man, I always remember that show?
Yeah, the time that I was paid $1,500 from Ron and Brian Blyther's lowrider truck to do a naked Gumby on live.
No, I think it was more like 5,000, Dave.
Well, maybe it's 5,000.
It was at least 5,000.
We were in Germany. This is the first year that I was there. We were waiting backstage to go on to live television.
It was a live show.
And and we were just, I don't even remember. Did they have a little ramp there? I don't even know. I know we were doing flatland, obviously.
Yeah, they had a quarter.
They had a quarter.
Yeah.
Okay. So Ron and Brian were dead serious. They wanted me to go out there and do a naked Gumby.
Dead serious.
And
Dude, it was like, it was a lot of money for back then. I would have paid it too, because it would have been worth it.
Ron's like, dude, just all you have to do is just one naked Gumby and I'll give you $5,000.
Yeah.
And Brian's like, dude, I'll give you my Nissan lower truck. He had what year was that? Like
85.
85 with, Porsche alloys. I mean, it was all
Oh
decked
my
out.
God.
And I'm just like, you guys, this is live television. Naked Gumby is just, that's not going to go over
That would have been
well.
worth it.
I think we were pretty close. I think we were pretty close to getting you.
I was
Yeah.
maybe contemplating it for a half a second,
What's that?
Isaac, but really, I just couldn't go to that level.
Okay.
Oh, I
Dude,
so
that's-
wanted to. I so thought maybe you had a Craig Grosso ending to this, dude. I was
No,
like,
no, Craig Ross.
you were driving around with a stack of hundreds in a brand new slammed pickup truck from Brian.
Dude.
Man.
But
Yeah.
Grosso happened at Ron's house, right? Was that
Exactly,
run was at
man.
your house, dude?
I don't think
Like-
you had to pay him anything though.
It was he had to get his car fixed, but not much.
Oh, you mean when he got arrested for 30 hits of acid in the van and almost wrecked our tour?
Oh no, I don't
I-
remember that.
Go on.
Yeah,
No.
these are the stories.
I don't remember this one.
That was Grosso, wasn't it?
Well, you better get the name right.
Ron's like, maybe it was me.
Oh wait, was that me? And I just used
Grosso's
Grosso's
legit.
name.
Yeah, Grosso's legit. He'll be like, nope, that was me. 100%
Yeah.
that was me. Like that
No, he-
dude, that dude owns it. But yeah, dude. I mean, speaking of that naked run, did you guys know about it like ahead of time? Like just, or were
No,
you as caught off as everybody?
And we were about ready to go on and, oh wait, Naked Run? I thought you were talking about this story.
Oh, I was
No,
talking about the
not Grosso.
Grosso.
Oh, that. No, that was that was completely spontaneous. And that was pretty legendary too, man. Cause it was like I was on the mic and like he drops in and every single person is laughing like hard they could ever laugh, including
Not every person.
not Matt Hoffman's dad.
Yeah, not Matt Hoffman's dad. Exactly.
Yeah, not him. But man, it was the fun dude, just like a no-footer, naked. And he's riding and everyone is just dying. Everyone's like rolling because like a little incline next to the ramp, and that was full of people, and it was just like rolling, laughing. It was completely spontaneous. And then Matt's dad got up and tried to like throw him off the ramp, and and actually, no, I wasn't on the mic. I had to take the mic after all that happened. And Matt's dad came up and started all this commotion and that on top of everything. And then I had to get on the mic and like, okay, let's get back into the jam.
And up next,
Yeah, I had to like try and get people back into it after all that. It was pretty awesome.
Santi's own Dave Volker. Yeah. Oh, dude. As a fan, I remember seeing the pictures, remember hearing about it. Again, no social media back then. It was like you read about it in a magazine. And then you're watching, I think Plywood Hoods, maybe, or one of those Dorkin and York videos.
Yeah.
It was the first time I saw the footage, man. And it was just like, it came out of nowhere. You're sitting there watching this with like, 13 kids on like this bootleg VHS copy. And then there's Grosso and you see it go up, and then you see the pepper, and you're like, oh, this is Naked Run. Cool, right on. You know, and it was like the sketchiest.
I thought he was like, when he was on the show and he was talking with Isaac, man, the way Craig told the story and just so like, bro, yeah, I had to get the car fixed. And yeah, Hoffman's dad was pissed. Like he was so animated. Like you almost forget about the Naked Run, and then you're just listening to Craig talk about that Matt's dad just being livid, bro. I was like, oh man, bummer.
Yeah. So, Ron, do you have do you have a favorite memory from tour, like a favorite stop, favorite show?
Well, that's like trying to ask my favorite band.
Yeah, that's a loaded question.
Like, how am I supposed to pick one? But
and just anything legendary.
It was one of my favorites was in Federal Way, Washington. It was actually the town I went to elementary school in, and we had a show book there, and there was maybe like 10 people, and it was the most awesome show ever. Like,
oh yeah,
they were all totally into it, and they were yelling, and our MC was yelling. It was the best show ever. Like 10 people there. That was pretty amazing. And I'm just telling that because I told that one the other day. So
it's fresh in your mind.
It's fresh.
Dude, imagine being like the 10 kids that just show up, and you're like, dude, because I saw you guys in Northern California, and I didn't remember. Dave and I tried to pin it down. It was either like Rockland or Sacramento. It was somewhere up in that NorCal Central Valley
Hank
area.
And Frank.
Yeah, Hank and Frank.
Oakland.
Dude, it could have been, dude. I don't know. It could have been, but I remember going, and I remember there was just a ton of kids, and I mean, it was the sketchiest. Did Hank and Frank have a really sketchy parking lot where it was like really uneven, like, or because this place was sketch, dude. I mean, I was just like, there's no way they're riding in here. And then you guys pull up in the van, park the ramp, and just there it was, you know, and you guys were flying. It was great, but man, it was sketchy.
Yeah, I remember those shows where it's like so sketchy rolling up to it, but then once you get on the ramp, it's the same. It's like, oh, okay. And then you land, and then you go back to the sketchiness.
Yeah.
or a good
that was
one.
a bummer.
I could talk forever about. I remember when it was one of our first. It was the very first European tour, very first European show we did. It was just me and Brian, and we got there, and the ramp. It was on this airstrip out in the middle of nowhere, and it was ass cold. It was fucking freezing. And all the people are inside watching us through the window.
Like a half mile away.
Yeah. And we're doing this show, and the ramp was like maybe like 4 feet wide. And it was made by someone who had no idea how to make a quarter pipe, because the bottom was like slightly more than a quarter. So the bottom had a little ramp on it. so Brian was so good, like, it was like nothing to Brian. Like, he's riding toward its speed, and just like you got to do a little bunny hop to get on the ramp, and then he'd go up and do an air and come down, and then we got used to it enough to where like we would ride up to it at speed, make little bunny hop, do an air, come down, and then jump off the ramp coming back in. That was pretty amazing. But I was most blown away like at Brian's natural skill at riding things like that, and it's strictly from cutting his teeth at pipeline.
The fun part about that was you couldn't hear anybody. You can barely see anybody. They were all in a terminal, and we're like on the second runway out in the middle of the airport.
And it's freezing, cold.
And so it was so funny to us that it made it easier to ride. It was so ridiculous that we just overcame all the stupidity and just rode.
That whole tour. What year was that? Do you remember?
That would have been 85.
That'd have been 85 probably.
Wow.
Because 86 was the first year I came out. Yeah.
Because the next year, I think my story is the disco tour we showed up 6 weeks early.
You mean our Haro Club tour?
Haro Club disco tour, yeah. I call it disco, you call it club, whatever.
Yeah, okay.
And you should you showed up 6 weeks early?
So that's just, it could be 9 weeks, it could be 3 weeks, but anyway, we showed up early and they had no shows for us. So we call Haro and they say, well, can you guys hang out for a while? You know, we got the tickets. You guys got.
Let me
You
clarify.
might have to help me.
Let me clarify. It was, we flew out when we were supposed to.
Yeah.
And it was such bad organization. We got there and we're on the plane, like, 'cause we hadn't been to Europe in a while. And we were like wanting to get everyone psyched on us again. And we were like talking about our show on the plane. We're like, yeah, let's do this. And we'll finish with that. And we're talking about what show we wanted to do in Europe. And we're all psyched. And we get there and and the dude picks us up at the airport from Shiner. The guy picks us up. He's like, we found out you guys were coming an hour ago.
Now I can add to this too. Okay, what I understand was that because the way that we write the date in America and they write the date there, that's where the confusion came.
Really? I never heard that.
I never heard that either.
They
But
flipped the dates, and that's how we ended up in like the spring instead of the fall. So
That
it just,
makes sense.
you know, and they were doing faxing. That time it was faxing, guys. That's how they communicate.
Yeah.
And I remember showing up and like we were just like, what? Okay, like what are we gonna do?
No, no. At first we were kind of bummed. We were like, damn, because we were psyched to do our shows. Everyone psyched on us again in Europe, and then first we were kind of bummed, and then I'm like, wait, we have 6 weeks until the first show booked for us in Paris. I'm like, let's do our own club tour. and I had Haro's credit cards, and I'm like, let's do our own tour. So we rented a car, and that was the fun part. We rented a car in England, a left-hand drive car, right?
I
No,
don't know.
no.
Ron.
No, the first car is the one you crashed.
Yeah, and that was
we
in
took-
Germany.
No, I'm mixing up stories. We took a ferry over and then
Yeah.
rented a car.
There
That's
you go.
right.
That's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
we did.
And then like visiting our friends in Germany and all that. And, yeah. That was,
Well, you're team manager at this time, right, Ron? I mean, have you taken over that team manager role, right?
I was just starting.
Well, you
that,
had the
so-
credit card, so I figured you were in charge, you know.
Yeah.
He was the most responsible somehow.
Yeah, somehow.
Well, he had the money, so you know he's got to be. Was there any? Okay, so during this time, like '85, right? You guys are over in Europe, or you're doing your tour. Was there who in the crew, who on the team, took over that like, kind of like the overseer, the dad role, and then who was the biggest cut up? I want to know who had the most like, you know, all their shit together, and then who was just like blown out, just let's just go wild and crazy that you had to corral in. Was there that dynamic going on?
Well, I'll say that Dave was our team mom. He took care of the incidentals and the brakes of our bikes, the cleaning of the rooms, the cleaning of the vans, the
Nice.
trying not to get us in trouble. And Ron was sober, and he was our team manager for the most part. He was responsible for calling shops and calling people and being in charge of the credit cards. And I was kind of in the middle.
Wait, Brian, I have a good way of describing you. So we're broken down on the road. We're like in the middle of nowhere in North Dakota. It's really hot. We got a flat on the trailer. We're getting all our stuff out. Ron's like going to find a payphone to call the shop. And he's like, I got to find a phone. Got to call the shop, tell them we're late. John Peterson was the announcer this year.
Wait,
and John
pause.
Peterson, what's
Wait,
that?
Pause.
Yeah.
Because the radiator was welded shut from hitting the deer on the way to Colorado, so we had a half a radiator.
Yeah, so that was the other side. So we got a flat, and Ron's stressing out. He's thinking, okay, I got to call the shop, let them know we're late. I'm out there pulling stuff out, getting our bikes out, trying to find the jack and the spare tire. Peterson and I are both working on that. We're like, where's Brian? What the hell is Brian doing? Brian, what are you doing? He's in the van. He's sitting there with the AC on, and he's trying to find us a radio station. He's like, I'm trying to find you guys a good radio station. That was Brian throughout the whole tour. Like that was his role. He brought like the lightness and the humor and the hoot, like it's all going to be good attitude all the time.
And tour DJ, road DJ.
Well,
Yeah.
well then Brian, that job got replaced by Spike. Then we got Spike. He was like the fun manager. And then
we just drove with no wheels for 60 miles
Tell
until we
that
got pulled
story.
over.
Tell that story, Brian. It was
I
from
don't, I'm gonna guess Chicago, but I don't remember where we were.
Nope.
No, you guys, man,
Nope.
your memory.
Oakland
Oakland.
Oakland to
Grants Pass, Oregon.
Grants Pass. Yeah, Grants
No,
Pass.
I would have failed that one. But yeah.
And then the whole time we're driving, like people are pulling up next to us, like pointing to the back. Hey, you're tired. Because by then it was just sparks because there was no tire left. It was just the rim. And we're like, yeah, we know. All right, thank you.
It's all good.
Haro.
We just keep going.
You get pulled over and they say, do you know you got I said, yo, you pull us over for a flat tire. And he's like, no, you have no tire. You don't even have a wheel.
No. We get pulled over and then we'd act like we didn't know. And we walk back and go, oh, wow, we got a flat. What?
To have a flat tire, you have to have a tire. You know,
like
Dave,
we didn't even know it.
Dave, what was when we talked to you last, you told a story about, I guess you guys were on the highway and you had the ramp coming off the back of the van. You guys didn't know about it. Was that on the same tour?
No, that was the first show that I did. So that was with Richie Gear and Tony.
Oh, that was okay.
Not these guys, but I do want to share another story. Do you guys remember when we were talking to the Germans that we could do Batmans with the trailer? So we used to, do like e-brake slides. Wilkerson is known for e-brake slides. So is Blyther. And we had the Germans.
Ryan taught me everything I know.
We had the German riders believing that we could do that with the trailer. We could do e-brake slide with the trailer, like 360s. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that. I believe it. I just don't remember it.
Dude, that's
Tell me.
I
you
do
tried.
remember when we needed a wheel and we were missing lug nuts, and I believe that was Chicago. That was Philadelphia?
Good job, Ron. Man, Isaac, we should be taking points here because
Dude.
Ron is like on it. And I'm very impressed. It was Philadelphia.
That was outside of Philly. And we actually found them.
in a closed yard. We had to jump the fence to get them. That was sketchy. Yeah.
And
that was
there was off duty who looked out his window and saw us breaking into this yard and called the police.
yeah, that was bad news.
Well,
And remember,
Brian, if it makes you feel any better, dude, I can't remember what I had for dinner yesterday. So
okay, thank you.
You're slaying it. Yeah. What were you gonna? You're about to say something, Dave.
well, I just remember that episode because I was the guy that jumped over the fence with the lug wrench to take off.
It was all day. That was amazing though. You found the same
on a tractor, on some kind of tractor or some kind of it was a tractor.
Because it had to be, they were lug bolts. We had to get lug bolts.
Not the nuts, bolts. Yeah.
It had to be bolts.
And just another little side note, this was the 2-hip tour. And so we're with Sean Wilkerson was the announcer, and Ron and I. And so there was a sergeant that lived in these apartments. Like this is like a weird part of Philadelphia where there wasn't really, it didn't even seem like
industrial.
Yeah, it was like an industrial area. And so we pulled over, and I remember what happened was we saw the wheel pass us. We're driving along, we saw a wheel, we're like, look at that wheel on the freeway. And Ron's like, dude, that's our wheel. That's our pull over. That's our wheel.
Yeah, it passed us. How did it pass us? That was insane.
So all I know is that I'm over on the other side trying to wrench on this tractor to get these bolts off. And this guy comes out, hey, motherfucker, you stand right there, stop right there, and pulls the gun on Ron. And Ron's sitting there going, dude, it's all good, dude, relax. And the guy's like, he's like shaking. He's like this, it's like 75-year-old old man, like shaking with this gun pointing at Ron. I was like, holy crap, what the hell happened, And so anyhow,
calm down. I'm a tour manager.
Yeah, exactly.
Not me. I got the credit cards. They can't eat without me.
Yeah,
dude, shoot him.
We all live to tell it.
We're doing shows we're doing say no to drug shows for little kids.
So when the cops showed, I just want to finish the story because there is a funny ending to it. When the cops showed up, they asked me, like, so what were you doing over there? Because the sergeant said that you were over on this in this locked fence, and I'm like, oh, I was taking a piss. And he's like, okay, well, show me your piss mark, piss puddle. And I'm like, and right then I was like, okay, so we're on tour, like we're gonna be late for the show, hundreds of kids that are waiting for us. We're going to the next one was West Coast Cycles, Mark's shop. Was that the name of it? West Coast? Westwood Cycles. And so I just told him the whole song and dance, and they had to arrest me. He's like, you know what? Any other time, we would have let you go. But this is a sergeant. This is an ex-sergeant. So we have to take you down. Yeah. So they put me in the bag.
They got arrested.
And I
you got arrested?
Yeah. And I spent the night in jail in Philadelphia.
And we all slept in the van.
Not a nice place.
Dude, thug life for Dave.
And then
my guy.
The wasn't the first time.
But then finish the story.
The first one, I was laying on, I remember trying to go to sleep in the cell. And I was like, I was so tired. I finally put my head down and a big old cockroach literally like crawled off my, and I was like, oh, I didn't sleep at all that whole night. And then right in the, probably like 8 o'clock in the morning, first thing in the morning, Brian shows up with Sean Wilkerson. Okay. And they're like, they come in, they're like, okay, you can just sign your name off and you're going to be released. And I'm like, cool. But I'm still like, I remember they had me take my shoelaces out of my, the whole 9 yards. Like I had never been locked up before. Stuff. The other story you're talking about, Ron, Brian, that was different because this was like, I was all by myself in the cell.
True.
And all I remember is Sean and Brian were going, Gumby, hey, Gumby. And I was just like, fucking don't mess around. Like, you guys, I'm not out of here yet. Let me just get out of here and then we can go party. But
I'm a changed man. I'm a changed man. I've done time. I don't look at the world the same way anymore.
I just want to
Dude, I love it. Dude, that's awesome. All right, dude, this is just random. It's a question I've always wanted to ask. Brian, did you prefer riding ramp or like pipelines? Did you prefer like skate parks back in the day, or did you like ramp better?
By far cement.
Yeah. Dude, what do you find? What do you same?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
He's come around finally.
Dude, I've seen, what was the Pool Seekers? What was the
Pool Seekers with Rick Thorne?
Rick Thorne, dude. I watched that episode just like 6 months ago. Yeah. So dope. Dude, what was it like back then? What was it like back then, Brian?
Which you talking to me?
Yeah. What was it? I mean, what was it like being that young and being in, because dude, I'll be honest, man, I kind of have like a halo memory of like, dude, what it would have been like to go there, and I just never did. I was up in Northern California. But what was it like, dude, being a kid?
So growing up where I grew up, it's either quarter pipes or the Baldy pipe or the pipeline. That was pretty much all there was. So ramps really, to me, going up and down wasn't that much fun. So the pipeline was a dream, but the pipeline was only for skateboards. So finally, they started building a track in the back, and if you raced on certain days, I think it was Thursdays, they would let bikes ride in the bowls. And the very first time they let us ride the bowls, I stopped racing, and it kind of opened up for everybody. And eventually it was just wide open to everybody. And yeah, unbelievable.
What year was that, Brian?
Shoot, man, good question. So I have a membership, I think was from like 81 on skateboards, but I don't think they opened up until like maybe 83, late 83-ish. So I think by 84 they were having contests already.
Right.
So I'm guessing 83 they started opening it up on Thursday nights.
But adding to that is like, I'd be on tour with Brian. Back to that first European tour, we every show we'd get would be like, what kind of ramp are we gonna get today?
Oh
yeah.
And then we do one show on like in this little German town, and there's like 1,000 people there waiting for the show. And we drive up, and we see this ramp there. It's like this tiny ramp, like cobblestone runway up to it, and the ramp, like you're riding towards the ramp, and you can see over the top of it, and it's a vert ramp.
Yeah, that's for those scenarios. I think Pipeline was probably the biggest help for me because it had a bunch of
and then
early skate park with uneven walls, super oververt to undervert to pretty much everything.
Dude,
so it did help.
What about that half they brought us to in the forest back in
the 18
Norway
foot?
Somewhere, and it was like a 20-foot tranny half pipe. It was like massive, whatever.
With a 1 foot deck on each side.
Yeah.
So it takes you 10 minutes to get up to vert, And by the time you get up there, it was so scary to get onto that ledge, onto the 1 foot deck.
And you were airing like chest high, and it was like I could maybe.
It was. I think it was 18 feet tall for the 80s. That was insane. It was just out in the middle of they call it their garden, but just
it was nuts. And I had
miles from any residences. And yeah, it was fun. It was super fun, super odd, weird thing to ride.
Yeah,
you guys.
Ryan, did you ever just pull up, or any of you guys? Did you ever just pull up to like a show and look at those ramps like you're talking about, and just be like, no fucking way, like this is not? And
yeah,
I mean,
almost every day.
That was probably half the time.
Yeah, almost in Europe, almost every day.
More than
you
half.
guys. I don't want to interrupt you guys, but I do want to just point something out for people that are just watching this at home, watching this on YouTube. I just want to make your memory. I just want to remind you in your memory of how small the ramp, because right now you're thinking ramp, and if you're a kid that's just into big bikes, you're thinking X Games ramp. What I need to level set you is the ramps that Brian and Ron and Dave all rode on were about that wide. They were as wide as the back of your minivan. I'm not joking. It was like
typically 4 feet wide.
4
They're
feet
at least
wide.
as wide as your bike.
Barely.
Yeah.
Barely. Yeah.
A piece of plywood typically is 4 feet wide, and that's what they built their. Well, I can't say always, but that's typically what they built the ramps out of. Sometimes they would just use 2x4s and put them sideways all the way across to vert, and talk about fun to ride. Oh my gosh. But yeah, typically we would get there, we'd look at the ramp, and we would try to smile and, say, oh, great, but we wouldn't really, it was just part of the gig. It was, they can't help it.
Yeah.
But we would go and we would ride, and as you're pedaling up to the ramp, 9 times out of 10, you see all the way over the ramp, to the people behind it,
And it's
and
a
you're in
vert.
trouble. That's small. Yeah. Even for us, 6 foot vert ramp is hard to ride.
Yeah.
What?
Side note is I have a Haro Freestyle, building my original first freestyle bike years ago, and I'm like, I put on an old uniform or something like that, and I went down to the park. I ride in San Jose, and the square bowl is like, it's like a 9.5 or 10 foot deep bowl, and normally I get like 8 feet on it on my normal bike, and I rode the Haro Freestyler, and I was really trying hard, and I could get maybe 3 feet, like the highest I could go, and I was really trying because I wanted to get a good shot, and I could get like 3 feet at the most. I'm just like, man, how do we ever ride these things?
Dude, it's great. I mean, I'll be honest. Like, that's the whole reason this podcast exists. Is I was like, man, I want to ride freestyle. I want to ride a freestyle bike. I loved flatland back in the day. I was a flatland guy, and I wanted a bike. And I was like, the only thing that they have right now for me is a mountain bike. That's it. A 20-inch bike just destroys my knees. And I kind of look like Brian would. I mean, I have full tattoos. So Brian would stop me. You should stop me if you see me riding a 20-inch bike, because it looks sketchy, right? It just, you can't ride it down to drop my daughter off at school. It just looks weird. So I was like, the only thing I could do is get a mountain bike and wear spandex, man. That's it. That's what I got. That's my life. And then I found out that they make these like 26-inch, freestyle bikes. And I'm like, dude, I just want to ride wheelies, ride my bike and maybe do a tail whip here and there, make my kids think I'm cool. And then talk to my dirtbag friend Craig here about BMX stuff and looking at magazines when we were kids. So that's pretty much where we're at, level setting everybody. So yeah, dude, I get it, man. I would love to ride like a 20-inch bike and have it feel comfortable, but this is the closest thing, dude, because basically what I look at is when I was 14, the bike is as big as this is now that I'm 48. Go, give or take. So it's about the same.
Gotcha.
Fine. So
the big bikes now are fun. It's fun to have a 26 and a 29-inch bike to ride whenever you want.
Yeah.
Do you guys own Brian, that when we rode the 4130 down in LA, was that the first time you had been on? What was that you were on, like a 26-inch slow ride, or
probably 29-inch?
Was it a 29?
Yeah, probably.
Does that just not compute with you, or are you accepting, or feeling comfortable on it just to ride around?
Yeah, it's been long enough. I've had a handful of SE, big rippers and other big bikes. So I've had them for quite a while. The slow rides are fun bikes, but yeah, it doesn't bother me. I still ride 20-inch when I ride when I go somewhere to ride. But as far as cruising and all the rides that go on are super fun, and wheelie bikes are a blast.
The 29s are okay for cruising around town, but a 26 feels like a 20.
It kind of does. It feels like you can.
I got a William Flyer, and man, that thing, you can hit curb cuts at full speed and just fly. The 26 feels amazing. 29 feels really clunky, and I mean, it's cool for around town, but doing anything, I don't know how that happens.
Your bar bike.
Yeah.
26, man, holy crap, those are so fun.
Ron, yeah. I gotta get next time I'm in NorCal, I'm gonna come by and bring my 27.5 PK Ripper. It's right in between the 26 and the 29, dude.
I wanted to try 27.5. I never tried one before.
Dude, it's dope. It's really nice.
My mountain bike's a 26 also, and I love it. But I'm curious. 29 feels too big for me. I want to try a 27.5. Someday I'll do that.
Dude, Craig has one. He'll bring it by. He doesn't live far. So going back to the ramp stuff. Actually, no. I want to move on to one other thing, because this to me is also fascinating. What do you guys feel about the resurgence of like the vintage stuff that's happening, like with these? Because it kind of ties into the big bikes. Like here I am, obviously it's a replica of an '88, Haro Master, and with guys like Bill Batchelor coming out of nowhere and finding like these iconic photos that he took when he was like 4 years old, hanging out with you guys. What do you think about that? Dave, Ron, Brian, like what did actually, Brian, what did you, when you first saw those pictures from Bill Batchelor, have you seen some of the ones like the tabletop and at that dirt looks like a dirt park?
Yeah.
When you're
I
like
remember Bill lived right up the street from me. I remember him from back in the day and the zines he did in the Pipeline days. So I remember Bill. When the name came back around, I was like, dang, I haven't heard that name in a long time. So I knew he took pictures. I didn't realize how much he took pictures and how often we took them, and he was everywhere. So it's super cool, because I didn't take pictures everywhere I went. It's cool to see a lot of the things he had and a lot of places that we were at that he documented. It's actually pretty awesome.
I never saw any of them.
You never what?
Ron?
I never saw any of them, so I'm not like an internet guy. So
it's kind of crazy, because I mean, Isaac, you can like back me up on this, and you guys have seen him too. So, Brian, you obviously have known him since he was younger, but so basically, we've been looking over guys like me, guys like Isaac. I'm sure you guys, like when you look back and you look at photos, or you go, Ron, maybe not you don't go online as much, but we see the same photos. We're looking at the archives, here's Brian at Pipeline, here's Dave Gumby, there's only so many we can look through over the last 35, 40 years. And then Batchelor comes out, and I said it was like a time capsule, like he freaking popped the seal and boom, all these photos come out, and it's like stuff. And what's trippy about his photos is, yeah, there's the competition photos. You guys are all in your uniforms, and people are vying for that top spot, and the things that would end up in freestyling or BMX Action, BMX Plus. But then he's got you guys like on the weekend away from the skate park, away from the competition, on some dirt lot somewhere where you guys are just cutting loose, and he's hanging out with you too. So I think that was like the real jewel of Bill's photos, was that he was included in you guys just hanging out and cutting loose without the pressure or worries of like, who's going to end up taking the trophy home today. Yeah. I mean, Isaac, is that the kind of the vibe you got to from Bill's?
Yeah. It's hard because like, Ron, Brian, Dave, like you guys live freestyle, and Craig and I live freestyle, but we lived it in the opposite ends of the spectrum. Like I grew up, and it's awkward now, right, to even say this out loud, but like I grew up with you guys posters on my walls, and like that way, this, like for you went to your work one day when you were 16 and did this show, and I still remember, like Dave, when you guys were setting up, Dave, everything was done, and Dave is like, hey, I'm gonna go teach who wants to learn you know, some balance tricks. And like, you just took all these kids over and did flatland. And for you guys, this is just a day at the office. But for us, like, I still remember it, and I'm 48 years old, right? So we all live this at different places. And so, you know, we have these magazines, and I it's almost like I have every picture of Ron that was published in Freestyle and in BMX Plus and BMX Action back in the day. Also, Ron, because of Too Hip and I lived in NorCal, there was a bit of that, right? So there was always like that kind of thing with NorCal. So we had all these pictures on our walls of you guys, and then to see Bill Batchelor come out, and it's like a whole new, it's like this unpublished magazine where he's got all these pictures from like '83, and then next thing you know, he's also got like a Meet the Street contest. He's got Grasso, like a shot of Grasso painting a car, and you're like, dude, this is, I wasn't ready. I didn't know that like he was taking pictures then too. So it's just, it's a cool time capsule. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's super cool because, you know, obviously we went to contests, but we'd come home and we'd go ride every day just like everyone else did. We all love riding, we all love BMX, and we may be different levels, but we all would go out and ride. And it's trippy that he, you know, captured a lot of that times where we were just out riding.
Right.
Days.
And dude, that the picture that I'm referring to in that dirt lot, dude, that's why I think I liked it so much, because it was like you're wearing jeans and it's like you're just with a bunch of dudes. It's like, yeah, you're Brian Blyther, but you're not the brand Brian Blyther at the time, right? You were just like Brian who rides his bike and does tabletops that are super dope.
Just
right?
like every other kid out riding.
Yep.
You know,
I was going to just chime in on that.
True.
That question, Isaac, though, with the whole retro coming back, I feel like it was really good because you start riding these bikes that look, you know, so identical. So I'm riding a 2017 Master. So it's got all the new school geometry and integrated headset. But you'll meet people when you're out there, and it's the, you know, it's the guy that said, oh, I had a red line and I used to race, like, you know, that's the common story. But they see that bike and they identify with that period. So I think it's really good because it just enlivens that movement from that childhood, you know, whoever that rider was, whether they're a racer or their cousin raced, and, you know, they had some association with it. And I think there's been a lot of riders that had got back into riding because they're like, oh yeah, if I'm going to buy a bike, I want to get one of those Masters that I always wanted, or what have you. And I guess, you know, more companies are doing it too.
Dude, it works, man. I'm gonna be honest. Like so I got this from John Bolgens. It was like, it's a sample bike, and I got it and I put it together, and I hadn't ridden a Haro, but dude, as a kid, I spent, I mean, countless blood, sweat, and hours, dude, in a parking lot riding that color bike, and it looks the same, right? So here I am, 48, I build it and I go out front, and my 8-year-old daughter and I go for a bike ride around our complex. And I was just like, dude, I remembered thinking when I was a little kid, man, I hope I could still ride when I'm that old with my family. That would be dope. You know what I mean? And so I had that opportunity, dude. And it was such a cool moment to go like, hey, you know, share freestyle, which is a big part of dad's life that I've never shared with my kids before in my life, you know, because they're just like, what's that trophy? I'm like, oh, it's just a bike thing. And never really talked about it. And so this is giving me a whole new way to connect with my kids. Plus, you know, I'm stupid, dude, because I'm also that kid that was like, now I have a better paper route than I had when I was 12. And so I can buy stupid stuff. Like, you know, like there's a pink 2-hip pork that I keep seeing floating around. I'm like, I'm just going to buy that. I'm just going to buy that. Like,
why not?
I need it. Yeah. I'm not going to ride it, but I want to buy it. You know what I mean? Stupid stuff like that. So
yeah, there's nothing like seeing dads riding with their kids at the park. There's nothing like that. It's so awesome.
Do you guys, okay, so we were talking about like photographers and stuff like that. For me as a fan, dude, it really seemed like there was a different vibe between BMX Action and John Carr and Plus. Did you feel that as riders, that they were like a different vibe shooting with like Bob and Wendy versus John? Was there like what was that like for you guys as riders? Or is that like an untouchable?
There's a huge difference. I mean, between John and Wendy, yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Everyone has their own personality. And I mean, I remember the first photo session I did with Wendy. I went up to LA and there was a bike test for the Master, and it was the green, so it was 85. And Wendy was like amazing. She had the picture already in mind. She didn't necessarily know the trick. I was doing that Miami hopper. It's down in Hollywood, and she's literally laying in the street with her fisheye lens to get this shot. Now, on the other side of the equation, when you shoot with John, he was very, like, I did this photo session with him. Again, it was a new master, and he wanted a shot down at the beach. So I did a handstand in the sand, and the wave was like breaking onto my brand new bike and up almost to the hubs. And I'm actually doing the handstand. He's like, yeah, this could be a cover shot. He was like, just, shaking that little carrot in front of me. So I'm doing this handstand. I got all wet and stuff and whatever. It was fine. But the cover ended up Brian Skurr, and he dug his bike and buried it in the sand, and he did a surfer. And I'm like, he wasn't even doing the trick. He buried his bike in the sand. But yeah, I mean, photographers are always a lot of fun to.
Was he wearing a coat and a bow tie?
Yeah, hold on a
No,
second.
he was just in shorts in that one, dude. But
yeah, there was, I mean, the same thing there was a big difference between the two and the quality of the magazines, but as a rider, you didn't care. It didn't matter. You gave them both equal time or equal respect because it was kind of like, and it's funny analogy because it was exactly like any rider in BMX of the days. Like everybody could be like any contest you go to, everybody is from all around the country and different scenes and different things that all evolved because it was before internet, before even videos. So BMX evolved on its own in each different area around the country, and then everyone would meet the contest, and everyone would be completely different from each other, but it wouldn't matter because you all rode BMX. You'd be with guys that are completely different from each other, but that didn't matter at all because you rode BMX. And it's the same like the photographers. Didn't matter, like they were shooting BMX, so you didn't say, oh, this guy's cooler or this magazine's better. It didn't matter. Like you just rode.
yeah, I mean, did you ever have to, or did you ever consider or think about like, okay, Cars here, Osborne's here. I mean, we're, as far as that goes, and like, man, if I can get them, like, were you vying for their one or another's, like, would Car give you a better shot at getting like on the cover? I mean, were you playing to a certain photographer as a favorite to try to get exposure? Because like you said, Ron, no internet, no Instagram, no Facebook, everything's got to end up in the magazine for exposure, right?
Not at all. You wouldn't care at all. You would just ride.
Just ride.
Yeah,
I agree.
Ron would let himself out to any magazine. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I will say the difference between that I remember the difference between Wendy and like the John Carr was Wendy, you just ride. She photographs it, you ride. She didn't really say much. John Carr would call out what he wanted you to do, how high he wanted you to do it, and how many times he wanted you to do it.
Exactly.
And I'm not that that's good or bad. It's just a huge difference on a day when maybe you don't want to do 5 more. You don't want to do that trick again, but you do it anyway. And sometimes, bad things happen when you're doing things you don't want to do. And I would say I can remember dozens of times when people would say that about John, and either slam, finally before the photo shoot is even open or is over, it's finally over when they slam. But I remember that and I kept it in my head, so it didn't bother me too much, but big difference.
Yeah, John Carr was always riding with John Carr would always be like, can you do one more?
One more. Yeah,
uh-oh.
Yeah.
My battery's dead. 1 second.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so guys, thanks for having me on, and it's been good. And,
hey, Dave plugged his computer in. Dave, thank you.
Yeah, my computer is plugged in. My wife has found her way back. She's
good. Okay.
You missed this episode, Craig. My wife went out to do some camping, and she got lost. So she called frantically. I mean, literally just right before the show.
Right before you jumped on.
Seriously, like got lost out in the wilderness or something. I mean, what?
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear she's safe and
she's good. I'm waiting for the next update, but I might have to go meet her somewhere.
I'll drink to that.
I'll drink to that. Get some, Ron. Get some.
She's good.
Dude, so I mean, as far as like the the bikes and things like that, how much input did you guys, did Team Haro have on the actual bikes that Craig and I rode? I always wondered that. Like, was this when it's like rider designed? You know what I mean? I bought, you guys, I was 13, so I bought into every bit of marketing that Bob put out. Like, if it had a chevron, I was like, this is the best thing in the world. Those cardboard elbow pads, remember those? I was like, these will save me if I jump off a cliff. I promise you. Like, I was so.
Dude, you don't even know how many pairs of Haro, the cotton gloves with those like plastic dots on the
yeah,
palm
dude.
that I went through as a kid.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love those.
Those are the best.
Yeah, right.
How much input did you guys have on the bikes?
Me, not too much, other than
I'd say
I made
none.
my bikes an inch longer. The FSTs were an inch longer when I rode them, but it wasn't
Yeah,
something that they sold. So
They'd make us custom ones for whatever we wanted.
Is that true?
Oh yeah.
the FST is true. The sport I thought was perfect. So I just made the FST basically a sport without frame standers. And that's what I rode when I rode for FST or rode a FST.
Yeah.
I remember talking to Bob about the dropouts because we were starting to do upside down tricks in the platforms and how they, and I said, you know, we're running pegs now. We don't need the platform because it gets in the way. And they didn't change that for years. And I used to cut them. I used to actually cut the frame because we had really short pegs then. I'd have on the rear, I would still have a nut and then I put the peg on top of it, just run a really long axle. But still, it was hard to do upside down tricks. So I would literally cut the frame off, cut the dropout down, just so I could have more room to stand on. So.
Oh yeah, dude. For like 4 years, I didn't have a pair of shoes that didn't have a hole in the sole.
Yeah.
From pegs, like standing on pegs.
And definitely no input on the handlebars. Holy crap.
Oh.
Every time, every pair of Haro bars I get would be different. Every one. And then finally, I'm like, screw that. And I started riding Woody bars.
Do some Woody bars.
Yeah.
I feel that way about you remember the Peregrine Q bars? Like with the double, like they were real popular, like 88, 87. It was like a double. It looked like these, the Haro. It looked like that, but it had an extra bar right there.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Every single pair was crooked. Every single pair. It wasn't until like I got like my fourth pair, I was like, oh, I'm not bending these. These are bent from these are just bent. All of them, like their jig was jacked.
That's why we never wanted to get new bikes. We were just used to all the little tweaks and twerks. And as soon as you get your bike stolen or something happens to it, it was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Got to get a new bike.
You got to get used to it all over again. Yeah, you get a new bike that would be exactly the same and it would still be different.
Yeah.
And you have to get used to it.
They say just go to a dealer and get a bike out of the bike shop. Not so easy.
Right.
It was easier for me than it was for Ron.
Dude, okay. Craig, what is something you've always wanted to ask these guys?
Man, I mean, first of all, let me tell you, dude, I was so shell-shocked coming on here. So Isaac, man, you're crazy. Guys, thanks for getting in on this with Isaac's shenanigans, man.
Dave. It was all Dave.
It was all Dave.
It was all Dave.
Fuck yeah. No. So, you know, it's one of those things like Isaac mentioned earlier, you know, having you guys looking at, you know, at it from the outside, being a fan, and I'm just not going to paint any other way. I was a huge fan as a kid. I always wanted to know about the tours, about the relationships with you guys. I even wanted, you know, really just, we haven't spoke much about Bob's involvement with the team, you know, early on and how that went. So like at what point did you guys, you know, on the tour, where was Bob's involvement and like, how close were you guys with him during the tour? Is that something you could talk about? Is that something that you got any stories surrounding? I mean, I could see Ron's like chomping at the bit on this one.
He was the first rider-owned company, so he understood what it was like, and he toured before we did. So I will say that was a huge help for us going out on the road and riding for him, because
that was a huge help for him, just letting us go do whatever we wanted.
Yeah, it was one of the few teams where he had, you know, open credit card and go do what you do and do your job well, and we won't say anything. You know, we're not going to hold you back. Don't be stupid. But, you know, when we would meet a team on the road, we would would treat them. We would take them out to dinner. We would take them out for, drinks, whatever it was. And that was something that we were able to do because of Haro. And it was amazing. He understood that and he encouraged it.
Yeah, like because it was pretty amazing because they had no worries at all that we would do a great job because we always took everything so seriously, our shows and dealing with the shops and all that. Like they had no worries at all. And then
I don't know
why, I don't even know what motivated me at all to save them money, but I always did.
Yeah.
Like I'd have their credit cards and I'd always be worried about saving them money, and I have no idea why or what where that came from. I have no idea. But
how did they know that us three would be able to get along and ride and even be able to do this? I mean, I don't know where they saw that three dudes, totally different people from totally different areas, they could just throw in a van and it would work.
Well, I just remember thinking about that the time when we were in like North Carolina or somewhere, and we went to some club and they wouldn't let us in or something. We were like driving away in the Haro van, like shooting bottle rockets in the club, something like that. And I just remember thinking, wow, what liability they had.
No kidding. It was a Roman candle. It was with Rich Gear.
It
was a Roman candle. And we literally, Rich Gear opened up the side of the van door as we drove past. And he shot one, and I swear, one went right into the club. Like, and we drove, and it has Haro bicycles all over the side. I don't know how we didn't get caught. I don't know. We were like, we had a guardian angel or something. But Ron, I think you should talk about.
We did get caught sometimes.
Yeah, true. But
Laramie, Wyoming, we got caught.
Go on.
Who ended up in the pokey?
So we had, I don't know, 8 people in the van at this time. We had a couple, we definitely had Scooby, right? Do we have Scooby? And do we have some Germans too? Or who was in the van?
Probably Bernie.
We had Bernie
Lars.
And Lars, yeah.
So we had a couple Germans, and we had a Maryland / DC rich dude in the van. He got hit by the Bill Clinton motorcade and got a bunch of money. Pretty cool story. Wait, we're driving, trying to get to Utah, right?
Yeah, Salt Lake.
So our last show, I think, was the last show of the tour, was going to be in Salt Lake City. So we stop in Laramie, Wyoming, and you don't stop in Laramie, Wyoming unless you absolutely have to. We stopped and we went to a Wendy's.
Wait, I have to interrupt. This is why it's so good to have the 3 of us on at the same time.
True.
Because you'll get the other loud. So how we ended up at the Wendy's is we used to drive down the freeway and just open up the side of the door, right? We just drive at 65, 70 miles with the trailer, and the van door is just open, the side door, right? And we saw these girls and we're like, hey, you want to come out? Come out, let's go eat somewhere. And we took them and met them at Wendy's. That's how we ended up at Wendy's. Okay, continue, Brian.
I don't remember that. So we get
legit.
So we get the Wendy's, and all of us, I guess the girls probably went in too. So there's like 14 of us in a Wendy's where there's nobody, maybe 2 or 3 people in there. And I'm the first one up there, and they said, oh, you guys got a large group. We're going to give you guys like the bus discount, the large group discount.
Yeah.
Order my food, and my food came out first. And so I take my tray and I go outside and I sit in the van and I'm eating my food in the van, and they're still ordering. And all of a sudden cops come from everywhere. 2 or 3 cops come, pull in the parking lot. They jump out, they go inside. I don't know what's really going on, but it looks like a little bit of a melee. Oh, is that when we had Nick? Oh, so yeah, we had an Australian announcer. And the next thing I saw is them bring him out, and he's yelling diplomatic immunity and screaming and yelling. And these guys don't know what to do. So they stand off. They're just kind of staring at him. Yeah. And I don't know what I was thinking, but I start throwing French fries over the top of the van on the other side where they can't see me. And I'm throwing French fries at them in the parking lot. And all of a sudden I throw one, and there's a cop right there at the door. So I get hooked up and put in a car. And was it Nar was there too, right? Because he got arrested.
Oh, it must have been Nar, then not Nick. Then it was Nar.
One or the other.
It was Nar.
Okay.
It was Nar.
So so a different announcer. Anyway.
But I definitely remember the diplomatic immunity line.
Yeah.
So I get down to the police station, and it's an underground jail, and I'm in the jail. And then all of a sudden, Nar comes in, and you're gonna have to tell the rest of the story because I know it, but it happened after I was already downstairs with Nar.
So Nar was the kind of the team manager, believe it or not, at the time, because Ron wasn't there. Ron, you had flown home because you had a injury, I think a shoulder injury.
Oh, shady.
Right? And so Ron wasn't there. Nar was kind of in charge, and he used to keep all the money from the t-shirt sales and posters in this brown bag, literally a brown paper bag.
Wait, describe Nar.
Oh, so Nar's like Pauly Shore. He's got this huge. He's a surfer guy, and he blew up like
Super tan.
PAs. From the first show we started, he would blow a PA because he would just scream into the mic, you know. And so we had to keep buying new PAs because he kept blowing them up. Anyhow, so Ron's out of the picture altogether. Nar's the manager, and Nar's just this. I mean, he's just this surfer rat, and he's a lot of fun, but he's just a little bit clueless at times. So he went to go get the money, and he's running by. This is so funny. This story, it seems like straight out of the movie. He's running by and stops and looks and sees Brian in the jail, and he like falls and like the money goes everywhere, and they arrest him for littering. They literally arrested Nar for littering because he was trying to run back to get the money because they wanted like $500 to get you out of jail.
Well, that's what I got arrested for petty larceny and littering. I took the tray outside, and they said I stole the tray.
And for littering.
Because you threw French fries.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you know this part of the story, but there was also this kid that rode by on a Haro, or at least a BMX. I don't know if it was a Haro. And we're inside
It was.
What's that?
It was. I think it was a Haro. It might have even been a sport.
Okay, yeah, I think it was a sport. So this kid is like 12-year-old kid goes running by, and we're like, and he saw the van and stuff parked out there, and he kind of like looked in and he saw us, and we're like, hey, can you go get? Here's the keys to the van. Will you go get the key, drive the van over and hook it up to this bar and break us out? And we literally were talking this kid into breaking us out of jail, and we weren't actually in jail. We were just in like this this room like outside of the cells, but they had bars on the window. And I swear afterwards, when we finally got out, we met with that kid and we gave him a poster and the stickers, and the kid, I'm sure to this day, he remembers that.
I remember
trying to break the Haro team out.
What story was it where about some courtroom?
Oh, that same place.
Same place. Yeah, it was a courtroom. We were skating in the courtroom. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
They did they did a whole trial of of what was going on. There's nobody in there. They had the gavel and everything, and they filmed the whole thing. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
There's video of this?
There is somewhere.
We need to find the kid, and we need to find the video.
Yeah, no kidding. And then Brian, what happened at the end? So then you're home, and it's like months later. Finish the story.
I also just want to point out, Dave just described a jail cell with that, and he's like, I wasn't in jail, but it was a room that had bars all over it around everything.
I've only been in jail once.
Probably wasn't jail. Dave.
And I asked the kid to use the van to pull the bars off. Yeah.
Dave doesn't want to.
But it wasn't a jail.
He doesn't want to go on the record saying he was in jail. So
more than just
I don't blame you.
bars on it.
Yeah, in Laramie.
I don't remember. I don't know where you're going, Dave. I don't remember when I got home.
Okay, when you got home, they sent you the money back.
Oh,
Come on,
that's
Brian.
right. Yes.
Right?
Yeah, they gave us back our and they apologized.
Yeah,
They
and
s-
apologize.
Yeah, they apologized for the way they acted, and I don't know what changed or what happened, but there was an apology letter for the whole incident, and they dropped all charges and gave us our money back.
Justice.
So
Justice.
technically not arrested.
Yeah. Technically not arrested. Technically wasn't jail, but
Only detention.
that was jail, Dave.
Yeah, so
But
they,
I do remember when Nara got down there, he had a piece of candy, and so he fished it out of his pocket and put it on the little table down in the jail. And deputies came running down there and took us both and separated us and thought he was trying to like kill himself or something. That was sketchy, but it was only a piece of candy.
Dude. That's incredible. I have a question for Ron. Ron, when it comes to like looking at it now, being like Two Hip and Wilkerson Airlines, what was that like, man? Being like after Haro, going after that, because like, I mean, dude, I remember I called Wilkerson Airline. I sent an email. This is so embarrassing, Craig. I haven't even told you the story. I sent an email from my
going.
AOL, like my AOL account. Like I remember seeing there was an email for Wilkerson Airlines. There was like a little ad in maybe Go or Ride or something. And I was like, I wanted to get a freestyle bike. And so I was like, well, I know that name, right? Because I'd never heard of like some of the other names. And so I email, and it was like the email came back and was like, yeah, man, thanks for inquiring, whatever, Ron. And I was like, no fucking way, dude. So I emailed back because I was like, email's free. So I was like, dear Ron, is this Ron Wilkerson? And you were like, yeah, dude, it's me. And yeah, just super dope. You were emailing people back then. What was it like going from rider to rider owned? Because at that period, there was a couple of people did it, but not a lot of success. And then here you are breaking out like, man, I'm gonna do Wilkerson Airlines, and then like the two hit bikes. What was that like, man?
Well, it was kind of like, for me at least, it was just like the same thing. I really wouldn't even separate it because it was still just the same. I mean, and that's kind of, I mean, when we first did it, it was like I was just doing what I thought was cool, just like I would if I was a pro rider and people are into it. And then over the years, it changed because it wasn't really like an official business. It was just like everything I'd always done, like with Two Hip and all that. It was just like real, and like we're doing what we love and we're into it and all that. And then as I would do the bike business over the years, it started changing into not doing what you love, but doing what's popular, and which is business. And it turned into business. And then at that point I'm like, this isn't what I got into, and
Right.
change things. But I mean, in the beginning, it was just the same as riding. It was just like doing what you love and making cool things and doing ads that you want to do. And I kind of used it for myself. It was like, for me, it was always business. For me, it was just a vehicle I used to increase my own personal skills or whatever. Like, I want to learn how to do ads. So I started a company. I'm like, I want to do ads. So I started a company, and then I'd start learning how to design ads. I'd have like Dave Carson as my mentor, like learning to design ads and like learning that. And then like, I want to learn accounting. So I would go to school and take a semester in accounting, and I learned accounting, and like it's just me like increasing my own personal skills. That's why I had a business. And then after years of that, and then like making videos, I want to learn how to edit videos. So I'd make a video and I learned how to edit and all that stuff. And then after I pretty much got all the things I wanted out of it, then it became like a business and not what it originally was. And then that's when I got bored of it.
Yeah. Dude, David Carson's a god. I will say that.
Oh.
Like that dude is, that guy thinks on another level.
Dude, he did the pink and green Two Hip logo. It was his thing.
Cool.
Like Dave Carson.
Hey,
Are
Ron,
you serious? I didn't know that.
No, like I was, and funny is like I was writing one day. I lived in SF, and I was riding down Market Street, and like, you know, the bus stops have like the little ads on the side. Like I'm passing by, and it was like, live speaking engagement by Dave Carson, this school. And I was like, what? And I stopped and look at it. And it was like, and this is years after I'd been in contact with him. And he's like the full like legend designer dude. But he designed the first pink and green Two Hip logo was his thing. It was he designed.
I had no idea. You guys, David Carson designed the intro. This has nothing to do with fucking BMX, you guys, but David Carson designed the intro to the movie Seven, if you've ever watched that. And it's that like the whole like Trent Reznor, that the sewing of the book. That's all David Carson. And
I never saw that.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
But yeah, he designed a surfer magazine. He did the layout and all that. And
yeah.
And then he did the first couple Two Hip ads were his. He did them like just for fun. And it was like he was like my mentor in the very beginning of design. It was like Dave Carson inspired, and like I'd get tips from him and stuff like that.
That's incredible. Okay, guys, I'm sorry I took the
Ron, I
interview
just want
way out
Ron
on
to-
David Carson.
I want Ron to chime in because when Isaac talked about that email that he sent, and there's a kind of a story behind, like, because you wrote a fan letter when you were younger. Can you tell that story? Because that's really good. These guys need to hear it.
I wrote a fan letter? Oh, you mean to Elton John?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ron.
No,
Tell this story. This is why
No,
Ron
when I was in like 4th or 5th grade, when it was 5th grade, like my first hero ever in music was Elton John. I used to love Elton John. I'd trace his picture off a Rock of the Westies album, and I like send fan letters to him. And like, man, if I would have got anything back at all, it wouldn't have to be from him, just anything that said Elton John on it, like recognizing that I sent a letter to him by anyone, I would have been like, would have made my life. Like I would have been so stoked, but I never did. And so that's why I made sure I always answered all my fan letters. And I'd be busy, so I'd compile them. I'd have like a grocery bag full of fan letters, and I would always do it when I was like traveling somewhere, because I would have time. I'd be on a plane, and it was before like internet or anything like that. And so like I'd be on a plane answering fan letters, and I'd make like a form fan letter where I'd make a story up, like a funny story, like, oh yeah, I was in jail and I got out and blah blah blah, or some kind of funny story. And then I'd say one sentence on the bottom, like pertaining to what they wrote. Oh yeah, that's cool, you did this, and like sign it and like send them a sticker or something like that. And like I'd make sure I did that to everyone, but it would take like, you know, sometimes a year to answer them, but I'd still do it. And like what's super cool is that over the years, like certain guys would come up to me and they'd be like, dude, I sent you a fan letter and you sent me a letter back and it was amazing. I'm just like, yes. I'm like, that's exactly what motivated me. And it was like, I got the proof.
Dude, if one of you kids out there has a letter from Ron, Dave, or Brian about Laramie, Wyoming, hey, I can't write you right now. I'm trying to break my friend Brian out of jail with the Haro van. Dude, I want a picture of it. Tag me on Instagram. Dude, that's amazing. That's a great
That's
story.
a good point. Like, you know, okay, so I think it's this weekend or coming up soon is that old school BMX jam at Woodward in Tehachapi.
Next week.
Are you which out of you three is any one of you guys going to that? If so, who's going? Who's Ron's going to be there?
Are you going to go? Yeah,
I'm going.
We always go to those things.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds super dope. I've never been. I know it's been going on for years, but that kind of like the thought of like the guy getting the fan letter back from Ron or someone responding, like you still see those guys, coming out. I mean, you get a chance to now interact. I mean, what do you guys feel like when someone comes up and is like, me and Isaac, you know, dude, I had your poster on the wall. I had, you know, I know every, you know, issue of this magazine that you were in and stuff. Like where does that catch you in the feelings, and how do you react to that?
I got that from Rick Thorne last weekend. It was pretty awesome. I mean, it's always awesome. No, I hear this story often of like, dude, I used to bring in your photo to the barber shop, and I'd tell them I want my hair like this. I hear that.
They hold your picture up. I got to tell you, like, I have a connection to this real quick, and this might just, it may not, or it may play here. So I've been showing this to people, and I've been showing Isaac this for probably the last 2 years. And I'm like, dude, and my lady lives, and she's from Santa Cruz. Right. And so kind of figure it out. You may or may not have a connection there, Ron. And I was like, and I got back when I started I was like really into art as a kid, but never really got like good. But I started painting again, and I made this painting. And I was like, what am I going to paint? You know, apple on a table, the sun, the waves crashing. And I was like, dude, I'm gonna my first painting. I'm gonna do this one. I'm gonna show it to you guys right now since the camera's on me. But this one is of Ron actually doing it was actually at the Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there's just no background to it. I didn't have the skill to put the background in, but Ron, there you go, dude.
Cool.
I always want to show you that.
That's
and
really
super
good.
cool.
Wow.
if I can thanks, man. If I can make it down to Santa Cruz, if you're still hanging around out there, this is yours, dude. I was going to drop this off to you at some point.
That's your first. I wouldn't take that from you. Shit.
Pretty rad.
Ah, dude.
Make a
Yeah,
copy.
you should.
Well, sign it and give it to me then.
Okay. Ron's like, wait a minute.
Dude,
okay.
Yeah.
That's
So-
awesome.
Craig, that was a great intro because I'm curious as an old school guy, right? What's it like for you guys when you go to those old school BMX? Do you hang out? Like, do you talk with people throughout the year? Do you like? I feel like Dave keeps in touch with everybody, but do you all keep in touch throughout the year? Is this like your like a reunion for all of you to meet like you know,
Yes.
other
kinda.
teams? I guess, yeah.
It's the once a year where I get a picture with two of these guys in a random hallway every year. I probably have
Or-
at least 10 pictures of the three of us in a hallway at Woodward.
Or
On-
of Dave Nourie doing a
Yeah.
tree picker
Bed
on
bed
Matt Hoffman's
bed
room.
handstands
Yeah.
on the railings 5 feet above a bed.
So
Yeah.
Isaac, I was at the York Jam just this last weekend. It was amazing. The first time I went there, and I started doing this new thing when someone would come up to me and they would say, "Yeah, I remember I came to a horror show back in the day, and I saw you and Brian and Ron, and let's take a photo." And I've just seen a million of the photos where we're just a headshot. So I always now say, "Well, where's your bike?" And I get them to get on their bike, and I have them do tricks. And if you see my Instagram just this last week, I posted like 10 of random people doing the most crazy stuff. So this one guy, Yellow, you guys know who Yellow is, Brian from Colorado.
Yep.
I got him to do like a Vanderroll off of a bench. Okay, so he's like gonna drop a Vanderroll. I got him to lay down in the Vanderroll. I climbed up on top of his bike, and I'm standing on the back pegs and grabbing on the front fork pegs.
Dude,
And
I
those are-
loved your posts this weekend. They were amazing.
Yeah,
Dude,
that-
Dave was doing a Vanderroll off somebody's bar stool under their
In their
dining room
like
table.
kitchen.
So I always just think about whenever I don't care who it is, and they're really just kind of a little bit, shy, or there's just not. And I'm like, get on your bike or get on my bike. Let's go both do a trick. And those pictures are like priceless. And I feel like that's just a lot of fun, to keep them interactive and a part of it, as opposed to just yet another headshot. Then I see this guy like, who is that kid? I don't really remember. It's much more memorable.
It was cool, dude, because it was like what I really enjoyed watching was my favorite was with Mike Daly. I'm not gonna lie, like that to me was just like, dude, that was a perfect moment. You, Mike Daly, doing the what is it, bar balance handstand.
It's the Palacio stand.
I've never called it that in my entire life, bro.
Well, it turned out that he was the first one to get in the magazine, and he was the first one to do it in a contest. So according to Eddie Fiola, then
He's the first one.
he's the first one. It was a
All
trick
right.
I made up, but some people call it a Nourie stand, but it's really a Palacio stand.
Yeah, you got to
Okay.
watch Factor Freestyle and fucking Eddie
Well,
clarifies and makes it official, right, Dave?
Yeah, that's right.
good for you, Eddie.
You guys need to go to Woodward and see the one thing that I go to enjoy every year is the flatland session in the bar.
Oh,
with
yeah.
200 people around, and it is just an amazing environment. Everyone's cheering and throwing money, and it's
Wait,
just an hour
Wait, who's the
of
star? What's the
flatland
guy-
in a bar.
What's the star?
what?
The guy that did the backflip and rad. What's his name?
Jose Yanez.
Oh yeah, he's the
Giannis.
star of that.
Yeah, he's usually there. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just it's a fun weekend. You ride it with everyone, you hang out with everyone. Everyone's around everywhere. It's a good time.
All right, so if anyone's like for fans of the show that are watching this, they go there, and for like a good example, dude. If I'm just gonna be honest, like if I were to see you in public, I might be like, hello, Brian Blyther, it's nice to meet you. I would probably be like really weird. I'm just weird around people that like I have halo effect around, right? Like, would you say like, hey man, we're approachable while we're at this thing, right? Like, come up, say hi, take pictures, have fun, tell us stories. Is that what it's like, or is it
Yeah,
what's-
100%. It's a mellow event. I mean, we don't ride the entire time. There's always time to walk up to us. There's time at there's different dinners and different. There's a bar. There's only one bar, so everyone's in the bar. It's easy to come up to us at any time. And usually, those books that are floating around, everyone has a book and has it opened up, because there are seriously probably 25 people at that event that are in any one of the books or any magazine that you have. So you can get a dozen different signatures, you know, at least at one time.
That's awesome. Have you ever, can we talk about what your job? Oh no.
It always helps if you buy us a drink.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't that a given?
Yeah. Hey, nerds,
for those
if you
who
want,
drink.
yeah, you guys, you've waited your whole life to meet like Ron, Dave, Brian, anybody that's there, bring them a drink, bring them, hey man, can I buy you a drink? And then ask for a signature. Like come bearing gifts, not just, you know, a Sharpie.
I'm just joking. It doesn't matter, really.
It doesn't.
I'm just making a joke. I was just making a joke. It really doesn't matter at all.
It doesn't matter if Ron has 2 drinks in his hands. He can put one in his pocket. So go ahead and still bring it.
Yeah. What's your drink? What's your drink, Ron? In case anybody wants to just walk up, surprise
I don't think I ever bought a drink there ever, but it just, well, vodka Red Bull used to be my drink of choice, but now it's just, well, then it became Jack and Coke. But
Jack and Coke, yeah.
Really, I don't discriminate.
The Red Bull thing, dude, I couldn't do, man. That was cool, like when I was like young, dude, like 30s. But man, I tried it the other day, and I'm like, okay, I'm super buzzed, and I can't fall asleep. So this sucks. So yeah, I stayed up and watched like a Netflix series I don't even care about.
If you're drinking enough, you can.
Yeah, yeah, keep going. That was my life lesson.
Well, it's funny, I never liked the taste of Red Bull at all. But then I'd have friends that worked at Red Bull, and then every time I go out with them, we'd have all these drink tickets for vodka Red Bulls. So I'd drink those, and so then every time I'd have a Red Bull after that, it would remind me of the fun times I had with my friends drinking. So then I started to like it.
That's association, dude. I get it.
Weird.
Brian, can we talk about what you do for a living real quick? Because I think this is the funniest question I could possibly ask. Can we?
No.
Brian,
okay.
No,
I just want to know, like, have you ever, like, okay, so Brian works in law enforcement. Have you ever arrested somebody that recognized you and is like, God, I wish I would have made better life choices? Brian Blyther, who just arrested me.
I got a quick funny story. So the very time I ever put handcuffs on anybody, I'm in training. I got my first, it's your first phase. And I got this old salty 60-year-old cop with me. And I stopped this guy that's in a parking lot, and he's drinking a beer. And so I get out of the car and I go, hey man, you know what's going on? You can't be sitting here in this parking lot. You got to pour out your beer and move on. He's like, oh, okay, no problem. And I go, is this your beer? And he's like, yeah. I go, no, that's not your beer, right? No, it's my beer. No, I go, no, that's not your beer. Just pour it out and get rid of it, and we'll move on. And so
please understand.
I tell him, I go, yeah, he's gonna move on. We come back, you know, an hour later, we're driving around doing other stuff. We come back, and now he's laying there in the gutter at the corner of the parking lot, and he's pissed himself, and he's got $100 bills pouring out of his pocket, probably $4 or $5 grand in his pocket, and probably the worst area in our city where no bueno. And so I contact him. I say, hey man, you got to get up, and you got to walk across the street. You know, across the street is a different city. That's where you live. Get over there. He said, you know, I just got home. I'm a carny, and I just got back from fair. I got all my money here, and my grandma wouldn't let me in the house, so I just went and got a couple beers. I go, well, you got to get up across the street. And so I get back in the car, and he's like, well, is he gonna go? And I go, yeah, he's moving right now. And so he honks his horn at him. The guy stands up. He goes, go get him out of here. Get him across the street. So I go up and I say, hey man, you gotta leave. And he starts rubbing his eyes, and he's looking at my shirt, and he's like, Blyther? I'm like, oh no. He's like, Brian Blyther? I'm like, dude. He goes, hey man, I'm I can't think of his name right now.
Joe Mama.
that sucks.
Craig Grasso.
It was Joe Mama.
Craig Grasso.
No, he goes, how's Gary and Charlotte? That's my parents. And I'm like, oh dude. Danny. No. Anyway, I can't think of his name right now. But he's like, dude, I used to ride in your backyard. I used to ride your half pipe, and I totally remembered who he was, and I recognized, and I'm like, whoa, trip out. I go, dude, pick up what you had. He had a couple $100 on the bill. I go, pick up your money, put it in your pocket, get across the street. He's like, nope, you got to take me to jail. I go, no, I don't. Please get out of here. Put your shit, get out of here. He's like, no, you got to take me to jail, man. He goes, if you don't take me to jail, I'm going to slap you, or I'm going to start yelling. I go, dude, get your stuff and go and leave. and he refused. And then all of a sudden I hear the door shut, and he's coming. He's pissed off. What is going on over here? And he's like, he won't take me to jail. I'm drunk. I can't even take care of myself, and I need to go to jail. And he turned around, put his hands behind his back, and I'm like, no way. So that was my very first arrest ever, a drunken public.
Yeah.
And
You just
But
wasn't
he's Billy BMX, and as soon as I put handcuffs on him, he's like, thank you. I've now been arrested by Stu Thompson and Brian Blyther. Crazy.
Dude, good for that guy.
yeah, exactly.
You know, everyone has a goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone has a goal. Like, fuck. Yeah. Dude, if you ever pull me over, bro, let me go. Just I'm saying, my like
No,
Yeah, you could just sign my
cool.
ticket. I
No.
mean,
It's-
you know, we
that
could.
would be pretty punk rock. Yeah. I'd
Yeah.
take a picture. I'd take a selfie with Brian and my ticket. Like, hey.
Okay,
Hi,
I got a good story for you guys that happened in France. That was someone that recognized Brian, and Brian and Ron, you can chime in on stuff that I forgot. We were in France. We're doing a photo session, and Run DMC was
Eiffel
in town.
Tower in the background.
What's that?
The Eiffel Tower in the background.
Yeah, and we're doing a photo session, and Run DMC was in town. So a lot of people were like dressed in their leathers and their Adidas. Did I tell this story when I was on with you guys?
No, dude,
Okay,
no.
No,
Okay, 'cause
keep
I know
going.
I've told this before. So we're all just hanging out, doing a photo session. And I remember Brian got this look on his face like he was all starstruck. You don't see this on Brian's face very often. And it was Run DMC themselves walking by. And the first thing they did was they went up to Wilkerson, who was practicing a very different lifestyle than he is now. And he was asked, do you know, I don't know who it was, Ron or whoever asked him, do you know where you get any weed? And Ron's like, oh, sorry, dude, I don't really know. And like, then I did a Vanderroll, and the guy was like, Joe was like, oh, Joe, check that out, do that shit again. And they were totally into it. And then by this time, like more and more people kind of like starting to mob around, and they were going down this escalator, and we were kind of following them. And Ron and Brian and I were on the escalator, just a few feet behind Run DMC. And on the way down, some people were coming up, and this kid turned and said, Brian, is that Brian Blyther? And picked out Brian Blyther out of the crowd. So even when Brian is fanning out at whatever level that he can fan out at, he was called out on being a superstar. So I remember that to this day.
More than
Well,
Run.
That is
I
funny.
mean, I would say like Run DMC is that's a valid fan out moment. You know what I mean? Like, especially
It was awesome.
yeah.
It was a Beastie Boys Run DMC tour, and yeah, it was such a trip.
Dude,
I
how
wish
the
Ron
fuck-
had some weed on him.
Dude.
Yeah, Jesus, how the fuck?
Could have
dude? Like,
had some tickets.
and we're almost 2 hours into this, and we just now found out you guys bumped it, like you randomly bumped into Run DMC like on tour. Dude, that's
But more than that is Brian got recognized before them.
yeah, that's the best part of that whole story. Can you imagine, dude? You're like Run, you're just Rev Run, and then you're just like, oh, dude, yeah, look at these BMX guys, and some kids like, hey, is that Brian Blyther? Dude's probably
It runs past Run
Run's
and
like
DMC.
already got, yeah, he's like, yeah, hold on, here, Brian, hands on the Sharpie. That's hilarious. Let me ask you this: like, I mean, this is, I guess, for all of you. Dave, do you have? This will be interesting. Dave, do you have a favorite? I feel like you've shared a bunch, but do you have if I were to tell you, like, what's your favorite attribute of Brian Blyther? You've toured with him. If you were to describe Brian Blyther to somebody and not, outside of BMX, what would you say is like the quality of Brian Blyther? How would you describe him?
It's so hard to like even begin to think about the words, because like we're like brothers. I mean, you have to understand, we touched on it earlier. Like Bob figured something out, like these guys are going to get, something's going to be awesome that's going to happen out of these three, because Ron talked about this on some interview not so long ago, that we basically toured together, which meant we drove together, we roomed in the same hotel room, we ate together, we performed, which is our work, but whatever, wasn't really work for us. we spent numerous hours talking about the show. Like Ron talked about when we were on the flight to Europe. That's all we did was talk about how we're going to do the show. That was every night when we would go to the restaurant, we would be talking about, hey, that really worked. Why don't you do a 360 and I'll be doing a Gumby. Remember this, right?
After every show, we talk about the good and bad parts of it.
Yeah. And we said, that didn't work so well. Okay, let's nix that. That worked really well. Let's add that. One of the best parts was when we did the slider. You remember this, Ron, when we go up on the ramp and we do a slider next to each other, and Brian would come from behind the crowd. This is the first air, the real air of the show, because in warm-up they would only do like coping, just above coping, and Brian, I swear, would go up and just launch like 9, sometimes 10-foot air, that big old front wheel bone, and just glass smooth. So if I were to
lose their shit,
and that crowd would just go crazy because all they'd seen is flatland and a little bit of lip tricks and kick turns.
During warm-up, we'd make sure like we didn't do very high airs. We would always say, now Brian, make sure you just stay low, just get used to the ramp, just do low, and then our first air would be like really high.
So I feel like knowing these guys for this long, like I have a bit of Brian in me, and if that were a quality that I would share, it's that like everything's going to be all right. We're actually it's not really as crazy as you think it is. Like I would be stressing out a lot more than need to. It'd just be the chill pill. So Brian is like my chill pill. That's what I would say. And I have one for Ron too, but we can come around and we can,
No, do it. I want to hear it. Yeah, I want to hear it.
So Ron is like the other side of the scale.
The unchill pill. Here it comes.
Unchill pill is like, and I still do it to this day. I mean,
I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, well, it still shows up in good ways. Like when I go do this freaking photo sessions with these random people that come up and say, hey, can we take a photo? And I'm like, okay, yeah, but let's do double ant riders somehow on a bike, or let's, do something crazy. And like, that's the confidence that Ron has. So I think I gained that from Ron, is that there's just never anything that you can't do, and you just go for it. And maybe you fail, maybe you slam. Like Brian, remember this? Ron would say, I'm going to learn no-handers in the show. I'm going to learn no-handers today. And we're like, cool. So after the show, we'll practice and I'm going to learn it in the show. And he would go up there and, do a big old no-hander and slam like so hard. And Brian and I would just look at each other and go, oh my gosh. And he used to do this patented move where he'd stand up and he'd put his thumb up. Like once he put his thumb up like that, then we're like, okay, we know he's good. He's going to keep riding. And so, that's the quality that I got out of Ron, is like, go for it. It's all good. It's, it's going to work out, but you got to push the envelope. I think that's how I would sum it up.
That's what you used to do back then. I'd learn all my tricks during shows.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's when you get all the people motivated. Everyone's like yelling and screaming. You're like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go. That's why I learned nothings in the show.
Dude, I remember.
I gotta tell you, like I'll never forget the first time I saw like Brian air, because you see it in a magazine, and I mean for years I had these pictures on my walls, but when you see it that first air and you're like, oh shit, dude, they don't play, you know what I mean? Like you're like, that's how big that is in real life. And it dude, I'll be honest, it's terrifying to watch. And Ron, I remember the first time seeing it was a Miami Hopper drop in. I don't know if that's the right word for it. You're in a Miami Hopper and you drop into the ramp. Sure. And I'll be honest, dude, as a kid, backwards, you guys, as a kid who could do Miami Hoppers, I was scared to do them on the ground. And I remember seeing that. I was like, there's no way. And then it was, then you did a nothing. And I can tell you, dude, the anxiety I had watching, because he was just like up, and then you just see everything go. And we lost our shit, dude, as like 12-year-old, 13-year-old kids, but it was just like insane to see you guys live. I'm that kid that if I saw you guys and the BC Boys and Run DMC, I would definitely be like, oh shit, that's Gumby, Brian, and Ron, right? Like that's
same thing for me, dude. And it was like I didn't really get a chance to watch VHS videos or whatever. So Ron, Brian, Dave, it was all about whatever. And buying magazines almost wasn't an option either. And I told this to Isaac on numerous shows, and actually this is what linked us as far as this show relationship was like being in a liquor or a grocery store, running over to the magazine rack and flipping open pages to the trick section, or, you know, where you've got the sequential photos and you're like, oh, okay, so I got to do this and this. And just, you know, from so to speak, Ron, if I saw yours, I'm like, okay, it wasn't just about doing the trick. I was like, oh, look at the way his arms are going out. Look at the style. I mean, I told Isaac over, and this is fanning out too, but I was like, Ron Wilkerson has been my favorite rider since I was a kid, you know? And it's like, yeah, dude. I just wanted to have that like flair, you know, and just the showmanship. So it is one of those things. It's crazy that we still look back, and Isaac, we've built this show off of that, you know, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
That's kind of the story of BMX in general.
Dude, yeah, 100%. I mean, it was like me as a kid watching like an Abubakar, right? You're just like, you can't comprehend it because you've ridden a bike and you're like that. It's just your brain tells you don't do that. You know, or seeing Brian so high, dude, and just like tucked up, and like your bike is sucked so much into you. And I mean, probably because it's a sketchy ramp, but goddamn, what a picture it makes. And then just, you know, Dave, I mean, how you stand up and do some of those photos and the way you get into them, but see the beauty of it is seeing Instagram and actually seeing you get in and out of some of those tricks versus just the pose of it. You know what I mean? Like that face pose moment where you're like, and here's my trick. It's the watching you get in and out of that stuff just blows my mind. And so, I mean, all of us as fans have to do a couple of things. We all sit back and thank you for your dedication to freestyle, your summers you gave away, the things that you didn't get to do, because the three of you, you know, were brothers across, you know, the globe essentially, and the memories that you created. I hope at some point you feel the love back from fans that we felt we got from you doing that because I'll be honest, man, at 13, I was like, they're doing this for us. This is for me. You know what I mean? Like
it was, dude.
You made us feel that way, that it was like, this was our special moment for us. Like you brought, you know, let's say rad, right? You brought rad to us. Like and the fun parts about it now is just hearing the stories of like, you know, hey, we were just normal teens, you know, I mean, we're normal kids figuring all this shit out at the same time.
Well,
but
the
fascinating.
funny part of that is that, and probably the biggest part about that is before internet, before even videos, it was only magazines and like, so much of it was just like your imagination and like what you'd think. Like no one nowadays could understand that. Wouldn't even have a concept of what that would be like.
No, I mean, dude, it was like being out with your friends at night, you know, just like starting with something and then everybody looking and going, all right, try this. And it was like just building off of like one thing or getting creative and just looking at some other dude and pulling something off. And you're like, oh, bro, you should try it this way. Or, you know, that's rad. Let me try it. And it was just that building on top of itself always, you know, and then, dude, let's come back out tomorrow and do this, you know? And that was really the key for me, you know, that's where it was at. And that's what I love about it today. I mean, the videos and the content and all that, I like it too. But my favorite part, dude, is getting like with friends. Like Isaac just came out here and we went on this huge ride out in Santa Cruz, and not that I don't love going on big ride outs, but I couldn't care less about the ride out as much as I did having Isaac come out so we could ride together. I mean, the first thing he did when I picked him up from the airport, we got back to my house and it was just like, let's go ride. Like we were hungry. We had to piss. We had to do all this stuff. I was like, dude, let's go ride. Cause we'd never met,
really?
You know, year and a half, almost 2 years of doing this show. And we hadn't met in person yet. I'm like, we got to go ride. First order of business, you know?
Yeah. What was funny, dude, like he picks me up from the airport. I go by my childhood house. I go to the bike shop that's still there that I used to go to when I was a kid. And then, man, we went for a bike ride. It was so much fun. But you guys,
Santa Cruz ride.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude,
we
Santa-
went to the Santa Cruz ride out.
Look, buddy.
yeah.
Thousands of people there that day.
Yeah, they
5,000,
said
bro.
$5,000. Yeah, 5,000.
Yeah, 5,000 people from was it Harvey West Park? Is that what it's called?
That's
Harvey
where we
West?
met up at Harvey West. Yeah.
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 Dude, always welcome, Ron. You're always welcome to come hang out. You guys, we've gone 2 hours. I told Dave, like, hey man, can I have you guys for an hour? So this has been amazing. I'm speechless, you guys. If you've ever watched us talk, this has never happened where I'm like, I don't know what to say right now. But thank you so much for spending 2 hours with us and hanging out and you know, for all that you did for BMX, for freestyle, for Haro, but mostly, dude, just for I'm gonna be real selfish. Thank you for my childhood. You know what I mean? Like you guys, the three of you, I hope someday you get to see a videotape played back of just all the joy that you brought so many of us, just by doing what you loved and doing it so well, and the sacrifices that you made. The beauty of this is every time I talk to someone that's like, hey, we went on tour, RL and Buff, you guys, no one talk like Volker, no one talks about the sacrifice of like, you know what, I didn't get to be a normal kid. I didn't, people recognize me everywhere I went. People know me over Run DMC. That's pretty dope.
It wasn't any sacrifice at all. It was all fun.
Dude, Ron, thank you so much, dude, for all that you've done, for your contributions, for riding bikes, for Two Hip. I need to say that because Two Hip was huge for me, dude, because I'm a NorCal guy. And so that was a big deal. Brian, thank you for every error that you pushed, dude. Every time you just, send it.
Thank you and everybody. I mean, obviously we wouldn't be on the road unless there was people at the bike shops, and we truly loved doing shows as much as you guys loved them. It really was. It was a weird aspect for us because if we didn't do a good show, we'd be bummed out. We wanted to do good. We wanted to, if the ramp wasn't set up and I couldn't do, a 9-foot air, it was a bummer because I couldn't do what I wanted to do and what everyone came to do. And Ron and Dave were the same way. If the parking lot sucked, Dave was pissed. He could ride in a 2-foot little area where it was smooth. The rest of it was horrible. But it was part of the deal, and we would do the best we could with what we got. And it was a blast. It truly was. And I'm stoked that we still get to do shows together, every other year, every couple years. And that we still ride. It trips me out that we all still could go do a show and ride. Obviously not an 85 show, but I think Dave rides just about the same. Ron rides good. I still ride, so it's fun.
Yeah, we're a couple of years. We'll be doing another tour.
Yeah, we need some sponsors. Isaac, help us get some sponsors. Then we'll do a tour.
Dude, I will move heaven and earth to get the three of you guys out anywhere, dude, without a doubt.
What if we did a crowd-funded tour?
Yeah.
How cool would that be?
That would be dope, dude. Can I announce?
That would be like that would be like so real. It'd be like the riders making it happen.
Yeah.
Dude.
That would be awesome.
Ron, parking lot jams.
Write up a proposal or like a budget. What you would want, because you always wanted to save Haro money, so you always were conscientious of. Like we used to have hotel, like a kind of an idea. We used to Motel 6 most of the time, and then we'd save up the money that we'd be saving so that when we're in like a big city, we'd get a nice
big city hotel. Yeah.
Yeah, then we'd get a nice Hilton or something because we've been saving up. On the road, you just sleep basically. That's it.
Where did that come from? How did
nobody told us that?
I know.
Like, we could have stayed in Hilton every night.
I know.
But we didn't.
I know. Weird.
Isaac, we can definitely like hook up some credit cards for Ron too.
Okay,
just like old times, bro.
100%.
We came with the idea here, like crowd-funded. How cool would that be? Like set the tour for like 2 or 3 years down the road and just start crowdfunding now, and like we'd do like maybe like a 5 or 6 city tour. I even have a ramp. Okay, we got to fix it up, but you know, it's still a portable ramp. Like,
Wait, is it the 2-hip, 16-foot wide?
yes.
Oh my gosh, no, we're not doing that. Isaac, don't let us take that on the road.
No, we have
part
to.
of, part of the budget will be fixing up the ramp. Okay.
Okay.
Dude, you guys, this has legs because look, here's what we do. Different pledge levels. When you're there, you get to sign the ramp. So like your signature is part of this tour.
Oh,
Like you sign the
beyond
ramp.
Beyond that, we'll make like parties after each event, and like certain levels gets you into the party.
Dude, this
I like
has
that.
legs, you guys. This has legs. Yeah. Oh yeah. Dude,
Isaac will Isaac will have this built, funded, or at least, you know, set up the account.
Yeah.
We will have this on your table. You'll be
Okay.
like, oh shit, these guys were serious.
Now,
Yeah.
just a little side note, we all signed our first agreement with Haro in 1984. Is that right for you, Brian? Yeah, you did 84.
Yeah.
Ron, you were 84 or 85?
Before
2024.
2024.
Well, I retire in May of 23, so it sounds perfect to me.
Yeah, I'm down. I'll do it.
Everything is aligning, bro. Go check the
it's
planets
summer-
and make sure they're going to be in a line too, bro. Because this is just this is real.
84 to 24.
Crowd-funded
Oh.
summer tour, bro. 2024.
Oh my God.
Dear John,
The boys
Boltons.
are back. Hey, John,
Yeah.
we're gonna need
Yeah.
some bikes.
Dear John Bolgens, this would be so dope, mate. Yes.
I got to tell you guys before I know Isaac's going to be closing this out, and we do need to let you guys get back to your lives. And Dave, your wife's been safe. She's back from the trip. Okay, good. Listen, I wanted to tell you guys this, man, to each and every one of you, Dave, Brian, and Ron. I just getting on tonight, man. I kind of was thrown off a little bit, but in a great freaking good way to see all you dudes here. One of my favorite, if not my most favorite memories as a kid was following you guys as a team. You know, I didn't have you on my wall for no reason, bro. It was just like a moment of time there that I'll never forget, that part of my childhood. And here we are just sitting down and hanging out with my best friend here, you guys. I kept this, I'm going to show you a picture. I kept this in my phone, Ron, and I'm not taking away from you, Dave or Brian, but I don't know if you can see this. This is,
Oh, dude, look at
this
that.
is Ron and I at Rich Avella's coffee house, and Ron showed up. Dude, that was my moment, right? That was my BMX bookmark in the greatest chapter of my life right there, as far as meeting a guy who I emulated and all this, right, Ron? But I got to say, tonight, having you three on in this forum, in this platform, dudes, let me tell you what, even though that's super special to me, this is where the bookmark's getting moved over, bro, because this is awesome. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for coming out here and just making an appearance, dude. It's been so much fun, so rad talking to you guys.
Oh yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
We
And
Yeah.
Dave, thank you so much for making this possible, dude.
Yeah,
This
good
was
job,
this
Dave.
was
Thank you, Dave.
Good job.
Of
this
course.
was
Good job.
Dave's idea. And you guys, what's funny is, like, again, I haven't talked to Craig in like 3 weeks because I can't keep a secret, and we couldn't make this
can't. He's
happen
terrible.
last week. And so it's just been so funny, dude. Like, I think, Craig, I've talked to Lisa more than I've talked to you in the last 2 weeks. So it's like your wife's in on this. Everybody's in on this. It's so funny, dude. Everybody, LJ
Well,
knows. Everybody knows.
Isaac's like, hey, Craig, bring in the Blyther, because I got a 24-inch FST in the garage of 2016,
nice.
and I'm like, and I completely forgot. And then as soon as I got into the chat tonight, I'm like, the fucking Blyther, dude. I should have brought the bike in. I totally see it. But I
So-
get it,
that's
man.
too funny.
Yeah. So you guys, thank you so much for this. I can't thank you enough. Ron, thank you. Brian, please thank your families for letting us have you this long.
No problem.
As a freestyle kid, man, growing up, you guys were invaluable. I mean, there's a reason why you are legends, and there's a reason why people just pause when you think about the Haro team. The Haro team, there's a lot of teams that toured, but I feel like I'm not going to offend anybody by saying the Haro team set the bar for a show. Like, you were going to see coordinated, planned out. It wasn't just like a bunch of great legendary riders riding. It was an experience. And I mean, everything from the sticker toss, dude. I mean, like, you guys have no idea. Like, I would kill my best friend for a sticker. Like the currency that stickers had as kids. You have no idea because you had bags of them. But I swear to God, dude, you could like trade bikes for fucking Haro stickers that you got at like the Roseville tour or something, or the Hank and Frank show. So thank you so much for everything you've done for freestyle. And thank you for hanging out and wanting to be a part of this, just for old dudes like us that grew up and had walls that look like Craig's right now, with you guys on it, man. Thank you so much for what you
one
do.
question. Who's doing the Miami Hopper in that picture?
That's Vander.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, dude. Those are all Bill Bachelor pictures, man. Ron, I'm gonna send you some.
Hey, look, that's Vander too.
Yeah, Vander's in
Yeah.
the house. Yeah.
That's a Golden
Dude.
Gate
Good.
Park.
Golden Gate.
Bark hard curb.
You know what's, wait, let me, signing off. I just gotta say one more little thing. Okay, look at that picture. Okay, look where it is. See the line in the road? You see the people around, see the trees? Okay, now look at that picture.
Oh yeah.
See
Same
the line,
place.
see the line on the road? See the
Yeah.
It's the exact same spot.
Yeah, it is.
Dude.
I didn't realize that until it was already on my wall.
So Ron, I have a question about that cover shot that came up on our show. Do you mind, Isaac? I don't want to
No, dude.
No, go for it.
So Ron, someone
Say hi, Xander. Say hi. This is Xander.
Hey Xander.
What's up, Xander?
Hey.
Hey, Xander.
Gumby Man and Brian Blyther right there.
Cool story, Dad.
They see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Not less
Yes,
than
you will.
10
Wow,
days.
week and a half. Wow.
Yeah.
Coop will be there,
Okay.
so you guys can party.
So Ron,
will be there.
I just want to hear the story because I heard some story about that photo session, that there was a scene at Golden Gate Park and all these riders would go there every Sunday and they would have their session. And
I was saying.
and then you got wind of the magazine showing up. So you wouldn't always go there, and you went there specifically because you heard the magazine, and that's how you got the cover shot.
Truthfully, 1984, that's a long time ago. So yeah.
Yeah.
But I do know that I'd been there a few times before that.
Okay. A few times before that.
Yeah, so it wasn't my first time, so I knew that much. So, it could have been guys telling some kind of like vindictive story or something like that. Maybe, I don't know. But
This is so awkward because I used to
I just rode and the guy took photos and that's cool. You got a cover. So that's all I have to do with it.
Okay.
Dave, I'm just gonna say that I was okay. So maybe on the left-hand side of that picture somewhere is my old Haro, because I was that nerdy Grom that hung out in Golden Gate Park, right? And so it's funny that you say that, because Ron, I don't ever remember seeing you there. Like I was like looking back.
Boom. I knew, whether it was a rumor, but see, and I think that's a quality that Ron has. Ron is very good at negotiating. He's very good at getting covers of magazines or whatever it takes. You'll make it happen.
Factor freestyle.
Dude,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Dave, Factor Freestyle.
Yeah.
Exactly.
you guys definitely look up YouTube after this. Go look up YouTube. Dave has this show, Factor Freestyle. It's amazing. If you love this kind of stuff, Dave has way better content, and like it's the most random thing. Like I remember I randomly tuned in one night, hanging out, and it's Ron and fucking Nick Phillips, I think, showed up like at your house, dude. Like
Randomly. Like we didn't even plan that. We didn't even plan
no.
it.
It was like Ron pops on. He's like, "Hey, dude, Nick Phillips is coming over." I'm like, "No way!" So I was like, "Does he have dreads? Like, what's going on?"
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, dude, that's just insane.
one last thing I want to just say. So when you're talking about the whole show and the format, and like that was all Ron, and I think Brian can agree with us. Like Ron had this like such a professional view on. I remember he used to yell at Brian for wearing a jersey over a t-shirt because it was a vintage jersey, and he had a t-shirt which was probably like a, I don't know, just like a surf shirt. Like it wasn't one of our sponsors. It wasn't like a Vans shirt or anything. And he's like, dude, you can see the logo right through your vintage jersey. Or Brian used to not wear socks. And he's like, dude, you got to wear socks. You know, the safety, you know, because we do the whole safety thing. You remember that? So
Yeah.
Brian and I always were like, okay, he's taking charge. We, you know, not do it exactly what he's told, but he had this insight. And I feel like from the sticker toss like you talked about to like how we would set up before and come into the show area, like we get in our gear and then they would announce us and come in, and all of that's all been Ron. And
but the cool thing was that I knew how shows went and all that. I don't know how, but I knew it. But then the cool thing was that you guys were exactly in line with it. Like you were on the program, like after every show, and I would do it mainly for the MC to like, we'd work with the MC because every tour we have a different MC to keep it fresh. And so after every show, we'd talk about what things worked, what didn't work, and you guys were right along with it. And that was like what's so magic about it is that we were all three aligned with making the best show possible. Yeah. And I mean that's super cool. I mean I don't know how I knew how it went. Maybe from like listening to like Rush songs or something like that. Like the show would follow the same format as that, and like and then I got well, I guess we started with 2 hip shows and we started doing. I mean, I had so much history with doing fair shows with Rich Avella and 2 hip, and like you know we'd really work on our shows and I'd study other shows and see how they go, and then I listened to Rush songs and like see how like there's the intro and then the body and then the fake ending and then the real ending and all that kind of stuff, and it was exactly like a show. And then that's how I got with Haro. That's what made me go from GT to Haro, is that Haro offered me to be the team manager as well as ride, and that was the thing that made me jump ship, was because like I wanted to do more than just ride, and I wanted to do the team manager stuff, and that was the thing, because I had the 2 hip background, and then it was just natural progression. But then it was like us 3 worked together so well. It was like we all cared the same about making a good show, and that's why they were so good, because it couldn't be good if we all didn't care about it. It couldn't be that good. Like you know, it just wouldn't, and not nearly as fun.
How many fights did we get in, Ron? You and I over the years?
Maybe 1.
I can't even remember one, Isaac.
I can't remember either, but my mind says there had to be at least 1 fight, so I just say maybe 1.
And what about you, Brian, if you were to answer that question?
Well, I thought that you guys hated me when you left me in Kingsport, Tennessee to sleep in a park with hookers, but I realized that was as much my fault as or more my fault than anybody else's.
Okay, what was the band?
3 Dog Night.
And 3 Dog Night.
Yeah, 3 Dog Night.
Crystal Gale.
Yeah.
The trailer got stuck for a minute. That was a Kingsport, Tennessee. That was a good time.
That was like 50,000 people or something crazy.
Yeah.
Like that. And Spike,
as a casual observer, it doesn't sound like Brian had the same tour experience that Ron and Dave had. Just like every time I got arrested in Laramie.
Dave already told that story.
No, that's the time you guys left me.
Oh, it was kind of like, hey, I want to go hang out with this girl, this cute blonde girl that's got leg warmers on, wants to go hang out. So we went and hung out, and somebody probably casually said, okay, meet us at Burger King at like 10 o'clock. And
I remember that.
I vaguely remember something like that, but like at midnight when I was trying to find them, I couldn't find them. And they stayed in a hotel probably 20 miles away.
Damn, Brian, where's Brian? I knew we were supposed to meet us here.
Yeah, Brian's off of the wannabe Tiffany or wannabe Tiffany / Debbie Gibson lookalike.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
And then so we hung out till probably about midnight, and then I was on my own, and I realized that I didn't have my wallet, I didn't have any money, I didn't have anything, and all I had was luckily I had a sweatshirt that I wrapped over my knees and laid in a park and slept with my bike while the girls walked out in front like hooking, and they kept me safe. And in the morning, I went to the grocery store, and like 15 people said, "Oh, that was such a great show last night. You guys did good." But I was too embarrassed to ask for money for the phone. And finally, I got up the guts to see this family, and I got the guts up to ask for some money, and they gave me like 50 cents or whatever. And I called the bike shop.
Wasn't that much then.
Yeah, well, you're right. But I had to like call 5 bike shops. I didn't even know the name of the bike shop. So I happened to call right when they were going to the bike shop to get bike parts on a Sunday when the shop wasn't even open, and they happened to answer the phone, and somehow they came back and picked me up.
Dude, that's amazing. Dude, imagine being like the kid at the bike shop. It's like, Brian, this is Brian Blyther. Do you know did we go there? Is this the right? And there's some kid like, God damn it, why can't I work for the cool bike shop? You know what I mean? He's working for like the shitty bike shop, and then he's like, thanks a lot, Craig. I know this is
the
you
kid's like,
pretending to be
hey,
Brian
Dad,
Blyther.
it's Brian Blyther. He needs some bike parts. He's been sleeping on a park bench all night with his bike and a blonde with leg warmers. Can we help him out?
Yeah, he's hanging out with Debbie Gibson and some hookers.
Yeah, some hookers kept him safe. He needs a place to get bike parts. We gonna do this or what?
Strange.
Are we still
strange
closed?
night.
Dude, that's amazing.
Awesome.
But
guys-
it was an amazing show with Crystal Gale and Three Dog Night, and the ramp was set up with perfect sunsets. I think that's where a poster or some stickers came from.
Yeah,
that show actually.
I use a picture for many of the things I've done. That's Spike.
Yeah, it was an awesome show.
That's incredible, you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out, sharing your memories with us. I mean, just this to me is priceless. I mean, I'm speechless. I don't know even what to say. Like, hanging out with Team Haro is, yeah, this is it, dude. Like, I don't even know what to say. Craig, I hope
we're going to be talking for a long time, Isaac.
I hope this.
Right.
I hope this is worth the surprise, my friend.
Dude, you don't even know.
Dude,
fuck yeah, dude. You guys don't even know,
thanks,
man.
you
So it's
guys.
been awesome.
yeah.
Thanks.
So
again,
anyway,
guys.
you guys,
guys.
thank you so
Really?
much. We have
Thank you.
Ron Wilkerson. I'm doing this the way it looks on my screen. We have Ron Wilkerson, Brian Blyther, Dave Nourie, Etnies BMX, Craig. For me, this is Big Bike BMX. You guys, thank you for hanging out, walking down memory lane with us. If you have favorite Haro stories, leave them in the comments below on this episode. I'm going to share the link with Brian and Dave and Ron. And I know Ron doesn't use the internet, but I will type them out, and I will.
I just don't do social media.
He uses
No
it.
worries. I will literally send you a letter with a stamp. With I will write down all the comments that I see on the episode, and then mail them to you. I think that would be just the most fitting thing ever. Or maybe I'll print them out. I don't know.
And summer 2024. Remember, that's mark your calendars.
Yeah, you guys
Yeah.
look for my GoFundMe for the Haro 2024 tour, self-funded by us, the fans, because we want to see these guys get out and shred.
Yeah.
And this time they don't have to stay on park benches. Let's put them in somewhere like some decent hotels, you guys.
I can't believe that idea came out of this. That's pretty brilliant. Wow.
Dude,
Yeah,
Ron,
that was
come
weird.
talk.
That was weird, Ron.
Because really funny because before all this, Dave reminded me of that tour, and I'm just like, he's like, what's it gonna take to do that? I'm like, some big sponsors with a lot of money to make it worth it to do it and to pay for everything, and then we came with the idea of crowdfunded. I'm like, wow, that's amazing, because that makes it all the more real and all the more pure if it's funded by the riders.
It's a
And it's
BMX
Hilton hotels at
GoFundMe.
every stop. Yeah.
And
Dude,
then the party idea after, oh my god, that makes it all worth it.
dude, if every freestyler gave $1, just think of that. Just donate $1. You know what I mean? Like, you guys could live large on this tour, and we could have a whole lot of partying open
Ron wouldn't
bars,
have
the
to
whole thing.
budget for hotels. Ron, you guys can stay in a Hilton at every city.
No,
you
Right.
know?
can't do that. No, we got to be real. We
Oh,
always
you got to
say one
be
Hilton.
real with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we
Alright.
do five.
This is
five-
why I don't run the tour.
it's like 5 hotels, Motel 6 to every one Hilton, more or less.
Yeah.
Unless,
You'll
unless
come-
you're
you
South
guys will come
Carolina
up with
where
the
we have
right.
the whole top
I gotta
floor.
bow out. I gotta bow out. Thank you so much. I gotta.
We'll see you,
talk to
Dave.
My wife. See
Later,
you.
Dave.
Thank you.
Take care, Dave. Thank you. You guys,
Good night, you guys.
see ya. Take care, everybody. We'll see ya. Craig,
Take
stick
care.
around.
Thank you much.
We'll see you guys. Thank
All
you.
right, man. Good
See you
night.
guys. Peace.
Later.
Peace.